It's now been about 6 months since I began working on my racing game Apex Rush. Having no prior experience with game development, I still managed to make this within the first week. And now 6 months later, we are here, with the current version of Apex Rush still in development, but starting to become a really fun and satisfying racing game. It's really fun to go back and see all the progress I've made since day one, and you can see all the small improvements being made every single month. There's also ways that I made the game worse. Not on purpose, of course, but yeah, I want to get into that a bit later in this video, as I want to show you where I'm currently at with the development of Apex Rush, so here's what's new since last time. I finally added the ability to pitch and roll the car in mid-air. Being an arcade racing game, this made the overall experience much more fun, and it will also allow for cooler tracks to be built as well. The force of the inner control is not too strong, so you spin out like crazy. It's actually balanced very well, and it's really smooth and easy to use. On keyboard and mouse, you just hold shift to lean forwards and control to lean backwards, and of course just use steering A and D to roll left and right. And on controller, everything is of course done with the left thumbstick. You just move it the way you want the car to roll or tilt. So the way this works is I added a code that checks if the wheels are touching the ground, and if they aren't, you get access to the inner controls, and if the wheels are on the ground, you're just, driving and steering as normal. And the first part of the new playtest forces you to learn these controls on the first jumps, so you can use them for the rest of the track as well. Now, I thought about adding yaw control or horizontal control, so you can basically control... So you basically can steer horizontally as well. But I feel like that might make things a bit too easy. Right now, you still need to line up the jumps to get a good angle, but with the improved ground handling, you can still save it if you go slightly sideways on a landing. Now, I mentioned some steering upgrades in the last update as well, but I kept working on it and it feels really good at the moment. You can now turn with ease at low speeds, and you can also do micro adjustments at high speeds. And I also tweaked it so you can still lose grip if you land a jump a bit too steep, but it also snaps you back a little to help you counter it, and it just helps you not spin out like crazy. I'm also going to work on the camera system so that the car rotation is free from the camera rotation. Right now, the camera locks where you're turning or spinning, so, you know, if I'm looking this way, the camera's also looking this way, and let's say I'm traveling this way, it's kind of hard to see where I'm going, you know? So I'm doing a complete overhaul on the camera system so you can see the car spinning without the camera spinning too. In the last video, I also showed some examples of this bump that kept happening with my suspension setup. The rear would almost basically bounce up when landing after a jump. Now, I finally managed to fix this, so now you can land big jumps with no issues at all. I had to tweak this threshold for angular dampening of the car, which ended up fixing this completely. And if you played the previous demo, you most likely had this happen on a few places on the map. So I'm really happy that I finally managed to fix this issue. One of the most requested things to add for this game since the start has been a track builder, where you, the players, can share and create your own maps and publish them and have other people play them. And I'm happy to finally share that this is currently being worked on for the game. Now, I knew that I needed help to add something like this, so I found a developer named Simon from SCQ Developers, and he's already made some really nice progress with this system. So I sketched out and I wrote down some ideas I had for this, and we had a meeting about a month ago, and this week I actually got the first playtest of the track builder. Yeah, so here it is. Now, bear in mind, a UI has not been made for this yet, like an actual one with the correct stuff showing, but essentially, you will be able to build tracks like this. Just place out pieces, you'll go in here, you'll get the smooth longer turn, you can rotate them around like this. Now, all the pieces are yet to be added in here, but you can go into jumps here. We have, for example, ramp smooth 20, we can place that in there, go into the slope 20, and we're trying to make it as efficient as possible to build with. So, for example, when I place out a slope here, following a ramp, it helps you out creating an offset, so you don't always have to, you know, adjust the grid going up and down and stuff like this. So then when I connect this here and we go into like a straight piece, I'm gonna do a long one here, it will automatically adjust this grid for you. And of course, this will all be, you know, based in a beautiful environment, not just a black hole as it is right now. But it's actually so much fun to build around with, so I can't wait until I can actually, build out tracks using this, because right now I'm placing out everything manually. And of course, we can press escape, just hides everything. Now, this red line is just a debug line, so yeah, don't worry about it. We can press X to just, delete stuff, just like so. And I think we can also do Control C to change things. Yeah, so if you place something incorrectly, you can just do that as well. And then of course you have your starting line, your finish line. Now these will, I will change the design of this a little bit later, I think, as well as the checkpoint I've actually already changed, so you guys will see that later on in this video. Now we're also going to work together to improve the timing system of the race. So for this version, you will be able to essentially track your time between checkpoints. So if you place this one here, when you're racing, you'll be able to see a delta time between checkpoints from your best time that you've set on the track. Because as of right now, there's just you start and finish. There's no saved score or anything. So yeah, building that out is gonna be so nice, and especially have it for these tracks as well. It's gonna be super, super nice to have. And of course, we will also add obstacles, so you can place out obstacles on the track as well. Just start adding some cones here and there, you know. Now, the tracks will be stored and shared using the Steam Workshop. At least that is the plan for now. So yeah, it's gonna be super well integrated with the whole game, and it should be pretty easy to, yeah, find different maps and stuff like that. And of course, all the tracks will have, you know, global leaderboards and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, I honestly can't wait for the system to be finished. It's gonna be so much fun to see, like I said, what you guys come up with, and just build tracks using this thing is gonna be so much more fun than, yeah, placing them out normally like I have been doing all this time. And we're actually gonna add a set of pieces as well, which do not have any barriers. So, for example, you could place a bunch of these ramps next to each other like this, and there wouldn't be any barrier in the middle, so it would just be like a huge ramp. So you can make like a giant half pipe like this, and you know, it's gonna open up for a bunch more opportunities once we add those pieces as well. So yeah, I'm beyond excited for this to be finalized and of course added into the game. And of course, I want to shout out Simon from SCQ Developers. There's gonna be a link to his Unreal Marketplace page down in the description if you guys want to go and check that out. He's got some really cool stuff on there that can definitely help you guys out with your games too. But yeah, the track builder will for sure take the game to the next level and just provide a lot more content for the players. I've also been watching a ton of videos on how to improve performance of just about anything: the landscape, materials, textures, lighting, post-process settings, and I've learned a lot since the last video. I'm mainly focusing on lighting and landscapes. I had some really unnecessary ray tracing settings enabled in the previous demo, which just completely drained the performance of some lower-end PCs. And the old map had some really, and I mean really, badly optimized landscape. This meter down here measures the complexity of the shaders, essentially the performance that you can expect. And let's just say this should not be all red and almost pink in some areas as well. So I switched to a new landscape material, and here's the shader complexity on the new one. And using this landscape, I'm averaging about 150 FPS everywhere on this level. And that is also using Epic on all the graphics settings. So I'm hoping that these changes I've made will help, players with lower-end PCs enjoy the game as well. And about the landscape, I've learned this new software called Gaia, which allows you to create some beautiful landscapes, which can then be imported into Unreal Engine. So for this level, I made this desert canyon valley, sort of, and then added some erosion, which I blended with a sand layer, so you get this flowing sand running down the slopes, which makes it look so good. Now, I'm still really new to using this software, but I'm gonna use it for, I think, the majority of the landscapes of the game, and then customize more detailed parts of the landscapes in, Unreal Engine or Blender. As an example, I carved out a hole in the landscape, and I modeled this cave in Blender. I gave it a fitting texture, and then covered up the hole with some rocks to make this pretty good looking cave. And you can actually go into a lot more detail here, of course, and make it look even better. But yeah, I just wanted to test this technique out to see if it was possible, and it definitely was. So I added this to the playtest as well, so let me know what you guys think about adding some more stuff like this to the tracks. I've also been hard at work on the drifting. I imported the unfinished model of the drift car and began working on the handling. Now I've made the transitions a lot smoother and not as snappy as they were in the previous version I showed you guys. I wanted a very satisfying feeling when drifting the car, not feeling like you're fighting against the car steering as you're playing. No, but with the updated wheel handling, this allows for some cool 360s and even backwards drifting, which I'm not that good at, but yeah, it is actually possible with this car. I had to change the camera settings to be a bit lower and a bit closer to the car, and I also added a slightly longer camera lag speed so you can easily see what angle you're holding. Now, this handling, however, is not perfect. When drifting and doing transitions, the handling feels great and smooth, but when you're just driving straight, even at lower speeds, and you turn, the car still slides a bit too much. So I need to work on the transition between having grip, braking traction, and then getting into a drift. Now, as for how the scoring is gonna work in a drift mode, I'm still figuring that out. Obviously, you will get more points from holding a drift, and a steeper angle will multiply that score, but I also want to add some more elements to make it a bit more interesting. So in competitive drifting, they have these things called clipping zones. Now, I was thinking we could have the same thing, but have like a hit zone. So instead, you'd have something like sticking out from the side barrier, which you would have to clip with your car. And when I was out walking my dog, I thought of adding something like these swinging road signs. Let me bring out the next car, the Skyline. So you'd have something sticking out on the side barrier, the drift car would then hit it, and it was sort of like, boing, kind of like, be springy, I guess. What's the word? It would be springy, swingy, and of course be way smaller than, yeah, this size. So having something like that on the side to sort of tap with the car, I think will look pretty cool as well. So the drift mode is still in progress. There's still more things that I want to fix before I get a playtest for you guys, but of course, I will let you guys know as soon as that is out. So, with all these new additions to the game, I would love some feedback on how you think the game feels now. Here's the new track for this version of the playtest, set in the desert. This track takes you along almost all the current track pieces and variations, so you can test the new controls and the handling. I also made some upgrades to the checkpoints like I mentioned, which are modeled in Blender, and I'm really happy with how these turned out, especially the holographic arrows. There's also a couple new obstacles on the track, but I'm still working on modeling more, so expect there to be plenty more in the future. Yeah, let's go on a full run of this new track. Also, for this version, there's no main menu, you just get spawned into the track straight away. But yeah, you can press P or escape to, of course, pause the game. Go into the settings, which I made a bit prettier right here, so you can see new font, new layout. Then you also have the controls in here. I forgot to add the in-air controls, but yeah, it's basically just turning in the air. So I think you guys will, yeah, figure out how it works. Yeah, the car sound as well is still the same one as before. I've yet to work on car sounds. That's quite complicated, so that's the next step. But here we go. Entering this half loop here. You will need to flip over the car just by turning. Super easy. And then the next jump, you will have to flip and tilt. Just so you learn those controls straight off the rip. I thought it was quite easy, or quite nice to add. And then you just learn the slow turning, just like so. I kind of built the map around learning the new controls and sort of testing out all the new pieces, which I think worked out quite nicely. So I dodge these obstacles, like this long corner. I'm also using mouse and keyboard, by the way. I think I'm a bit better on controller, but yeah, I just didn't plug it in right now. But here we go. Gotta make the little jump, make it through these obstacles. Then we jump into the sun rays, into the wall, right? We got it. Had a bit of a bad jump there, but it's all good. We can actually save that now with the inner controls. Then we jump through this bit, go back down, dodge the obstacle, and we enter the new loop, which is super smooth compared to the old one. Requires almost no correction at all. So you can actually add some obstacles potentially in the loop as well. Then go into this tilted turn, so you can gain a lot of speed here actually. But be careful because it's a pretty tight turn there. And then, no. Oh god. Almost messed it up, but we got it. There we go. New checkpoint. Then some more of these small jumps here. Get a feel for the controls. You can do some tilting here. Just gonna try it out. Into the big spiral. There we go. Stay on the side for most amount of speed. And then the cave. Now listen. There's some echo in the cave, which I think sounded pretty cool. I added some reverb in here, which just helps add some more dynamic feel to the whole track. And here we go. Final jump back into the world. You jump up here, and then it is finish line. Turns everything to slow motion, shows you level complete, and then you can just, yeah, restart the track. Now, since we're gonna be reworking the checkpoint system, I didn't actually add any time shown between each checkpoint. So as of right now, you can only see your full time. But like I said, this track is a lot easier than the other track. So that's available right now on my itch.io page. Link is in the description. Now, I had to add a Google Drive download instead because it was bigger than 1 gigabyte, which is the max size on itch. Once you download it, you just unzip it, go into the Windows folder, and you should have the apexrush.exe right there, ready to go. On my Discord server, there's also an Apex Rush forum where you can share suggestions, bugs, ideas, or stuff like that. Yeah, that is where I'm at right now with Apex Rush. There's so much progress being made, and I feel like once these core components are finished or figured out, I can begin building out the full game with a scoring system, unlockables, customization, and a lot of things that I still need to figure out how to do. But the end goal is to have a full game ready sometime this winter, I would say. And it will be sold on Steam to begin with. I'm thinking for price point, I'm not gonna go above $15. That's the absolute max the game will cost. And yeah, let me know what you guys think about the new version. But that's gonna be it for today, so I'll catch you guys later. So until then, take care.